Welcome back to Twin Chat. Hi, I'm Kenan McCumber, mom of two and teacher living in Bend, Oregon.
And hi, I'm Steph Kafori, mom of three, life coach living in Hawaii. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this episode. I just have to give you guys full disclosure. I've been up since before 5 o'clock in the morning. I did a quick 30-minute workout to get my endorphins going. I have not had coffee, but I'm bringing all my energy to this episode today. So, yay! So today, Kenan and I are going to do things a bit differently. We're not having a guest. Rather, we're going to talk to you about something that Kenan and I have experienced our whole lives as being twins, and that is self doubt, which has led to compare and despair, and how we've made a huge shift in our lives. And I'm also going to bust some myths about self doubt. So, first of all, I want to tell you that I experience a lot of self doubt in my life. And it does not mean that something's gone wrong. So I just want to repeat that nothing has gone wrong. And nothing is wrong with you if you feel self doubt. And you should feel self doubt because self doubt is actually like something that happens when you evolve. And each obstacle in your life is going to be an opportunity to doubt or evolve. So you have a choice, right? When an obstacle comes up, you can either choose to go into the self doubt or you can choose to evolve and challenge yourself. So this is a topic that I worked with and I will continue to work with and evolve. I work with my own coach and I work with clients in this topic too. And I think it is so extraordinary when we're able to really talk about it and shift this awareness of what self doubt means. So I want all of you out there to think about this. Whenever you try something new or you want to reach a goal, that voice comes in and says, I can't do that. Or in my case, it says, Kenan could do that better. And you have a choice. Do you listen to that voice and give into the self doubt and inaction? So it really doesn't want to I don't want to take action when I'm feeling self doubt. Or do you face it? Do you own it? You challenge it, and then you change, right? You have that choice to change and take action. So let me repeat my myth buster here. Self-doubt does not mean that anything has gone wrong. It means you're asking more of yourself. You're actually asking more of yourself. You're challenging yourself. You're evolving. And evolve equals change with effort. So just sit with that for a minute because this has blown my mind. And I actually just worked with this with my coach just yesterday. So that's why it's so fresh in my mind. And we were talking about my self doubt. And I want to talk a little bit more. And Kenan and I are going to go into some stories about our experience with compare and despair and self doubt. But I want to talk about a personal experience that I just had where I was feeling like everyone else knew what they were doing except me. And they had this, manual to life and they got it. And I put it in quotes. So whatever that means, like they got it and I didn't. And I was feeling this like self pity and self doubt. And I was comparing myself to others. And my coach said to me something. She said, "Let me just ask you this question. What if instead of feeling this doubt, you just looked at it as trying?" And I was like, well, I can try. I can try anything, right? Just like a toddler tries to walk, or I try a new sport, or I try a new recipe. I don't blame myself if it doesn't work. So anyhow, we'll come back to a little bit more of that about my evolution and my process and journey. But when we're going to talk today about this compare and despair and self-doubt and how it relates to Kenan and I, but also how it relates to people in general. So we've all experienced this in one form or another in a work environment, sports, academics, or friendships. And this is what it looks like between Kenan and I. And I would be thinking, Kenan has it so easy. She always knew she wanted to be a teacher, and she's had a very fulfilling career. Kenan has run over 10 marathons. She's amazing. And I look at it as like, wow, she's done these huge accomplishments. And her kids are older, so she has more time to herself. She gets to read a book and lay on her couch if she wants to. And then I go to the space of, compare and despair, which is I have it harder than Kenan. I've had many careers before I found quote unquote the one. And I've only run one marathon. And I have mommy guilt that I'm not giving enough time and energy to my kids.
Steph, let me interject to say also my experience of when I go into self-doubt and compare and despair. I say to myself, look at Steph's life. She lives in Hawaii and has three amazing kids who still want to hang out with her all the time. In fact, they fight over spending time with her. Where I feel like I have to like dangle a carrot and beg my kids because they're older and more independent to want to hang out with me. And I think to myself, really, like, gosh, Steph has the perfect life. She's fulfilling her dreams and she makes everything look so effortless and easy. So,
Yeah, I mean, Kenan, it's what's so interesting is that we look through this lens, right, of less than. So what I say right now is it's like we've got to stop, right? Stop for a moment and recognize that both of these scenarios are just we're just making up stories, although it may feel real. So I want to validate that, right? That these may feel real to you. And the first step is to ask yourself, is this true? Because our minds want to go down the rabbit hole and they don't want to stop, right? Because that's the path of least resistance is to go down that rabbit hole. And it's kind of like I like to say, and I read this somewhere or I heard on a podcast or something, but our minds are like unsupervised toddlers with a weapon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true, right? When we don't actually, we let it just go wild and our mind will make up stories and will try to make us feel worse about ourselves. And so when we're able to actually pause and ask, how does this make me feel when I compare myself to Kevin? And so I sit with that. How does it make me feel? I feel jealous and I feel resentful. And this is where it gets so good. So then I ask myself, how do I want to feel? And this is where I've had so many breakthroughs personally and with my coaching clients is when we're able to slow down and notice and bring awareness to the thoughts, then we're able to see that these are just thoughts. We have a choice over our thoughts. So everything we feel is actually a choice. And to be very clear, this does not mean that negative feelings are bad. We need to have both the yin and the yang. The key is to own the negative feelings. Don't resist it. Let the feelings be what they are. It's your choice how you react to the feeling. And when you can sit in the discomfort of those feelings, you're able to see that the feeling, and in this case, mine is jealousy and resentment, then I can see it with compassion. And I even use this analogy with my children. It's like a cloud, and the feelings dissolve over time. Because, like I said before, the goal is not to be happy all the time. You want to feel all the gamut of emotions. And that's what coaching actually does. It teaches clients to feel. So I teach my clients to feel, but I also have to practice that, right? And to feel is to bring awareness to your feelings and thoughts. And this, I read this somewhere and I looked it up in Google just to make sure it was correct. And I get differing numbers, but let's just go with this number. But if you have 60,000 thoughts a day and half of those are negative, we have to find a way to be happy with the reality that being human means we may experience negative feelings half of the time. Kenna, what do you think about all of this?
wow. I mean, right now I'm really thinking about how freeing it is when we can stop the mind chatter of comparing ourselves to others. So whether that is comparing each other to comparing myself to you being an identical twin or to others in my life. And we've talked a lot about your coaching and thoughts and feelings. And I am in awe of how this awareness has allowed me to see things differently. I now look at the twin comparison really not as that compare and despair, but rather as a compare and contrast. I mean, Steph, we are not meant to be the same, and none of us are. We are all unique. And as you always say, it's like, I'm going to say this is like your famous coin term. We are all unique, extraordinary individuals. And when we can see each other through those lenses, and I'm talking as twins, but also comparison in general, then it's just like a scientist making an observation, or I love to say, like a detective figuring things out. And again, like getting all of those observations in order so that they can figure out use the clues to solve the problem. But it's a fact. It's a circumstance and not something that we need to make up a story of and label as good or bad. And, for example, I'm going to bring this to us again, though, but, one of people's favorite questions to ask us is, how do people tell you apart? And when we examine all the ways we're different, our faces are shaped a little differently. I have a mole on my left cheek. I part my hair on the right side. I play tennis right-handed and Steph plays left-handed. I play basketball left-handed and you play right-handed.
We're
And really,
ambidextrous. We're ambidextrous, everyone.
friends, yes. But really, like the list goes on. But these are all just facts. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me because of all of those things that I've just mentioned.
Absolutely, Kenan. And I think this is what's so mind blowing and what's been so freeing for the two of us is that when we're able to actually just like change that verbiage, right, from compare and despair to compare and contrast, we see the situation as neutral. Like the situation is we are identical twins, and I actually am able to shift my thoughts from how perfect your life is in comparison to mine, or vice versa, to the thoughts that we have many similarities and many differences. And I'm so proud of you for all of your accomplishments. You are my soul, my soulmate, my best friend, and I love you so much. And your joys and accomplishments, I get to celebrate, and I also get to celebrate my own. And so when I can actually honor and value my accomplishments instead of looking at them through the lens of Kenan is better and I'm worse, um, then it brings up that feeling, that emotion of love. And it's a huge shift from the scenario at the beginning of this episode, right? And I go back to this is that I challenge myself and I also challenge my clients to look at things objectively. Look at yourself without judgment and just give the facts of the situation. And like you mentioned, be a detective. I love that. And I do that with my kids too. I'm like, be a detective. Go out and really ask your brother and sister what's going on. Oh, and this is another funny thing, Kenan. I was just saying, went up and my daughter had just woken up and she ran into my arms. She goes, Mommy, you look so beautiful. You have makeup on like Auntie Kenan. So talk about compare, right? But I didn't despair. I looked at it as, yes, I am wearing makeup, and Kenan often wears makeup, and I don't. So thank you, sweetie. Um, so back to this. If you're in that self doubt or compare and despair, ask yourself: is this true, or am I making up a story? And if there is truth to it, look at it as a fact without judgment, and then ask yourself, what thoughts and feelings am I experiencing? And like I said at the beginning, I had this perspective. Actually, no, I didn't say this at the beginning. Did I talk? I didn't say about the prospective client, right? Okay. Sorry. I was thinking of something else. I was thinking about my coaching experience with my coach. That's what I said at the beginning of this call. But I had a prospective client reach out to me just yesterday, and she responded to a post where I was talking about this breakthrough. That's what I was talking about, the breakthrough with my coach. And she said, let me get this straight, Steph. You have a coach, but you're also a life coach. And I said, yes, I have a coach and I'm also a life coach. And, you know, I didn't tell this to her, but I just want to say we're all evolving, right? I want to grow and evolve. And that's why I have a coach. And and I told her it was like having a personal trainer. I said you can go to the gym, but having a trainer pushes you. It holds you accountable for showing up, first of all, because sometimes you might be like, it's 6 a.m. I don't want to go to the gym. But if you've paid someone to like train you, you're gonna go, you're gonna show up. And they also show you new things. So and they make you do that extra rep, right? And and like I said, as a coach, I want to push myself. And in having a coach has been the best investment I've ever made in my own self-development. And again, continuing to evolve and learn more about myself because I'm human. And self-doubt, setbacks, struggles, challenges, all of those are going to be part of the life experience. And I want to be evolving with that. I want to be growing, and I don't want to let self-doubt rule my life where I'm stuck in inaction because I don't believe that I can take the steps to realize my dreams and my goals.
Hmm. Stephanie, you articulated that so beautifully, and it's so true. And I was, you know, speaking of those transformations and breakthroughs, this really makes me think of all the work that we've done together with mindfulness. And just to let people know that Steph and I did a training 2 summers ago on mindfulness, and it was specifically designed for teachers. And I've touched on my work with my students in a few of our other episodes, but I wanted to elaborate today on more of the positive impact that mindfulness has had on my students. And I will never forget an experience I had last year when my class came in from recess and they were rowdy, and there had been some conflict out on the playground, and they were distracted, and they just weren't settling down, and it was time for math. And all the public school teachers out there know that you have a specific designated amount of time for each subject, and there can't be a minute wasted, and you've got to get going to finish the lesson so that you're on track and you don't fall behind. At any rate, the kids just were not there. And I was kind of going, oh gosh, in my head, we got to get going, like settle down, quiet everybody. And so finally, after all of my 30 students were finally seated, one of the students raised her hand and said, Mrs. McCumber, before we start, I really think our class needs a mindful minute. And the whole class nodded in agreement. And they settled in and they got themselves into their mindful bodies. And at that moment, I can still bring myself back to that exact feeling of what the energy in the classroom. And I led them through a brief mindfulness exercise. And then we sat in silence for a minute. And it was one of the most powerful minutes that we'd experienced. And you could feel the connection and the deep caring that we all had for each other. And I will say, like, while I was glad that this mindful minute, this mindful moment was able to get us back on track successfully to complete our math lesson, it was so much more than that. The fact that my fifth graders were able not only to recognize the connection between self-regulation and mindfulness, but also to self-advocate for time to practice when it was really needed. I mean, it made me want to jump for joy. And that's the whole point of mindfulness, right? We practice the act of training the mind to look inward so that when challenges arise, we are ready to meet them in present awareness with love and compassion. And I got to tell you, it was a beautiful moment. So, being the teacher that I am, I want to give you some practices that I teach that you can incorporate into your busy lives. So It can be as simple as 3 mindful breaths before you get out of bed, before you get out of the car, a gratitude reminder. I put it on my phone just because it gives me that reminder, and it bings for me. But you could have a sticky note with it. Mindful eating, and this is such an important one. And it's really being able to enjoy and taste your food. You could even make a mantra or a declaration that you put somewhere, that you on a sticky note or by your bedside, and read it every day. And there's so much that you can do to be present in this moment. And to be honest, it really doesn't take that much effort.
Ken and I love that. I think that's the key right there. It doesn't take much effort, but consistency is important. So doing it, having that ritual, right? And sometimes people have said do it like a ritual is brushing your teeth, right? So that's something you do every twice a day, hopefully. But and so it's like maybe that's when you do these things, or like you said, when you get out of the car, when you're on your way home from work, or when you first wake up in the morning. So then it becomes something that you incorporate into your daily routine. And I love that. I have my practices that I bring into my daily lives, and it's really really made an impact. And I want to bring this full circle, because what I love about what you just said too about mindfulness is that it's a way to notice your thoughts for what they are. They are just thoughts. And you have a choice in how you react to them. And your thoughts will change. They are not constant, they are not forever. And, just really noticing that pattern of self doubt. And you get to decide if you want to believe these thoughts or if you want to change them. And own that self doubt when it comes up. Own it, own it, own it. And notice when you get into the compare and despair mentality, and see if you can shift your thoughts and your feelings to compare and contrast. Look at it through the lens of a place of neutrality, not better or worse, just fact. So here are some facts. They have more money than me. They weigh less than me. They go on more vacations. And when you see yourself making up stories like, they're happier than me, they have a better marriage, they're more popular, all of those thoughts are subjective. They are not fact, and are most likely not true. So remember to be the detective and examine for the truth. And we're not meant to be the same. It's time to celebrate being unique individuals. Break the mold of conformity and stop worrying about what others think about you, and treat yourself with love and compassion. And ask yourself, what do you want your opinion of yourself to be? Really ask yourself that question and write it down. Who do you want to be? And when self doubt comes up, it does not mean that anything has gone wrong. I cannot say that enough. It does not mean that anything has gone wrong. It means you are evolving. And evolving means you're changing, and it takes effort. So don't just sit back on your couch and let the self doubt take over. Believe in yourself, take action, and be your extraordinary self, because I believe in you. And this concludes our episode. Kenan, as always, it's been amazing to be with you. I just wish you were in Hawaii with me.
I wish I were in Hawaii with you too. And I'm so grateful to all our listeners out there. And Steph, you are such a wealth of knowledge. And I so appreciate your insight and in your help with me on my life journey. I really couldn't do this without you on so many levels. So I love you, and you're amazing. And I just, thanks again, everyone, for being here with us today.
Yeah. And the compare and contrast, right? So when Coco said I look like Auntie Kenan because I'm wearing makeup, it's just a fact. It's not a comparison that you're more beautiful than I am. We're both
Well,
beautiful.
makeup doesn't make you more beautiful anyway, right, Steph?
You can tell me I look beautiful, but we're all beautiful in our own way and in our own hearts. So thank you, sister. Thank you to our audience. Thank you for joining us. And please subscribe and turn on your notifications. We release new episodes weekly, and you can find Twin Chat with S and K on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. And you can also find us at Instagram at Rise Life Coach, or at Rise Life Coach, and online at riselifecoach.com. So thank you again. Goodbye.